I heard
They
he lost
laughed when he
everything.
walked in, mistook him for
Honestly,
staff,
what is he even doing
then
here?
poured wine on him in front of 200 people. No one knew the man they humiliated was the one funding their $800 million deal. He didn't argue. He didn't explain. He just walked out. By morning, bank accounts were frozen. Contracts vanished. And the room that mocked him was begging for answers. This isn't a story about revenge. It's about what happens when quiet power finally speaks. If you want more stories where dignity wins and arrogance pays the price, subscribe now, because the next story is already watching who underestimates it. The first sign something was wrong wasn't the shouting. It wasn't the humiliation. It wasn't even the security guard's hand pressing against Elias Monroe's chest, as if he were furniture someone forgot to remove. The first sign was the smile on Victor Hawthorne's face. A smile that said, "You don't belong here." Elias stood in the middle of the Grand Marrow Hotel ballroom while crystal chandeliers burned above him like cold stars. The room was full of polished laughter and expensive perfume. White tablecloths, black suits, gold dresses, the kind of gathering where people didn't attend to celebrate charity. They attended to be seen near power. Tonight's event was the Hawthorne Foundation Summit, an invitation-only fundraiser tied to the biggest redevelopment contract the city had seen in decades. A public-private partnership, billions on paper, thousands of jobs promised, and one silent funder nobody in this room had ever met. The funder Elias Monroe represented. He didn't dress like money. No designer logo screamed on his chest. His suit was charcoal and clean. His watch was simple. His hair was neat, his expression calm. The kind of calm people mistook for weakness. He'd learned a long time ago that the loudest people in a room were usually the least in control. Elias moved through the crowd without rushing, taking in faces the way a surgeon studies a scan, carefully, quietly, deciding what mattered. He'd already been stopped at the entrance. The guard had glanced at him, then at the guest list, then back at Elias with that familiar look. Not hatred, something worse. Assumption. "You deliver?" the guard asked. Elias had smiled, handed over a black invitation card with a silver seal, and said, "I'm attending." The guard's ears turned red. He stepped aside, but the air didn't change inside. It never did. People still looked past Elias as if he were part of the decor, as if a man who didn't announce his wealth couldn't possibly carry it. A woman in sequins brushed by and moved her clutch to the other arm, like Elias might stain her. A man in a tuxedo cut in front of him at the bar and joked, "Staff first, right?" Elias didn't correct him. He ordered water. Not because he couldn't afford champagne, because he didn't need anything in this room to soften his mind. He was here for one purpose, and it wasn't to impress anyone. Near the stage, a microphone squealed. The event host, Julian Reed, tapped it with a grin that felt rehearsed. "Ladies and gentlemen," Julian's voice echoed, "welcome to the Hawthorne Foundation Summit." Applause rose like a trained reflex. Elias stayed near a marble column, close enough to see, far enough to remain invisible. On the large screens behind the stage, a looping graphic spun. The Harborline Initiative, a new city, a new future. Victor Hawthorne stepped up beside his wife, Celeste Hawthorne. Victor wore a suit that looked built for cameras. His jaw was sharp, hair perfect, posture confident. Not a man, an image. Celeste was gold and emerald and brightness. The kind of beauty that didn't just enter rooms, it edited them. She smiled like she owned the air. Victor began speaking about community, opportunity, legacy. Words that sounded noble, while people in the crowd calculated how much money they could make from them. Elias watched without expression, not because he didn't feel anything, because he'd learned what happens when the wrong people see your feelings. They grab them, twist them, use them as entertainment. Then Celeste's gaze found him. It wasn't an accident. Her eyes landed on Elias the way a spotlight finds a stain. A slow smile formed on her lips, like she discovered something amusing. She leaned toward Victor and whispered. Victor's eyes shifted, and immediately his smile changed. Still a smile, but sharper. Victor stepped off the stage with casual confidence and began walking through the crowd toward Elias, as if approaching a problem that needed removal. Conversations quieted, not fully, just enough for people to sense something was happening. Julian Reed hovered close, confused. Two security staff subtly repositioned. The room's energy shifted the way it does before someone gets embarrassed. Victor stopped in front of Elias, his charm painted on. "Sir," Victor said, voice smooth enough to sound polite. "Are you supposed to be here?" He reached out and tapped Elias' sleeve, lightly, disrespectfully, as if Elias were an object whose presence needed confirmation. Elias didn't flinch. "I'm fine here," Elias said softly, "just observing." Victor let out a short laugh, like Elias had told a joke. "Observing," Victor repeated. "Right." Celeste approached behind him, heels clicking like punctuation. Her eyes scanned Elias head to toe. Not curiosity, evaluation. "You know," Celeste said sweetly, "if you needed work tonight, you could have applied. Showing up like this is bold." Laughter bubbled from somewhere behind them. Phones shifted in hands. The crowd tasted blood and leaned closer. Julian Reed stepped in with a forced smile. "Is everything okay here?" Victor answered without looking away from Elias. "We're just clearing up confusion." Celeste tilted her head. Confusion about who belongs. Elias held her gaze. There was no anger on his face, just stillness. And for some reason, that stillness unsettled Celeste more than anger would have. Victor's smile tightened. Then he made a decision, fast, careless, confident. "Let's not make this bigger than it needs to be," Victor said. "Sir, I'm going to ask you to leave." Elias didn't move. The room held its breath. Not because anyone feared for Elias, because they wanted to see what happened next. A security guard stepped closer, hand hovering near Elias's arm. Celeste's voice dropped, just loud enough for the nearest circle to hear. "Some people really don't know their place." Elias finally spoke again, quiet as a blade. "My place," he said, "is wherever I'm invited." Victor's eyes hardened. He looked at Julian Reed and nodded once. A silent command. Julian hesitated, then forced a laugh like he was saving the mood. All right, folks, let's keep things moving." But it was too late. The guard's hand closed around Elias's elbow. Firm, public, humiliating. Phones rose higher, and Victor Hawthorne smiled wider. Elias glanced down at the hand on his arm, then back up. Not at Victor, at Celeste. His eyes didn't threaten. They promised. Elias allowed himself to be guided toward the exit, walking with the same calm he'd carried all night. Like this was not a removal. Like this was a confirmation. As the ballroom door shut behind him, muffling laughter and music, Elias took one slow breath in the quiet hallway. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. He tapped one name, Daniel Crow. It rang once. Daniel answered immediately, voice tight. "Sir." Elias looked at the closed doors, expression unreadable. "Proceed." Elias said softly. A pause. Then, quieter still. Start with the bank. The ballroom doors closed behind Elias Monroe with a muted thud. Inside, the music never stopped. That was the first mistake. Victor Hawthorne returned to the stage with the same easy smile, adjusting his cufflinks as if nothing out of the ordinary had happened. Applause followed him back, polite, automatic, relieved. People preferred normalcy. They wanted permission to forget what they'd just seen. Celeste reclaimed her place beside him, chin lifted, posture perfect. If there was any tremor in her, it didn't show. Julian Reed leaned toward Victor and murmured, "All handled." Victor nodded once. Good. The crowd exhaled. Laughter resumed in clusters. Champagne glasses clinked again. Phones lowered, disappointment flickering on a few faces that had hoped for more drama. Someone near the bar said, "Probably some freelancer who got lost." Another replied, "Embarrassing, really. People don't know their limits anymore." Celeste heard it and smiled. She turned slightly, scanning the room, basking in the return of control. Power, she believed, was fragile, but only when mishandled. Tonight, she'd handled it just fine. Victor stepped back to the microphone. "Now," he said smoothly, "where were we?" Laughter rippled again. He spoke about growth, about trust, about partnerships built on shared values. Words flowed easily. He'd said them 100 times before. The screens behind him glowed with polished visuals and future projections. No one noticed that one of the screens hesitated for half a second before resuming its loop. No one noticed Julian Reed checking his phone twice in under a minute. No one noticed the faint tightening at the corners of Daniel Crow's mouth as he stood near the edge of the room, scrolling through an email that hadn't been there 10 minutes ago. Daniel was Hawthorne Group's senior legal advisor. He wasn't easily rattled, but the subject line on his phone made his stomach drop. Temporary hold, Harborline Initiative accounts. He refreshed. The message didn't disappear. Daniel glanced toward the stage. Victor was mid-sentence, confident as ever. Celeste stood radiant beside him, hands folded, eyes sharp. Daniel swallowed. This wasn't normal. Temporary holds didn't happen without notice. Not on accounts this large. Not during an event like this. He stepped away from the crowd, dialing a number he knew by heart. It rang. Once. Twice. Straight to voicemail. Daniel hung up, trying again. This time the bank liaison. Busy. He checked his email again. Another message arrived. Additional review initiated. Please stand by. A chill crept up his spine. On stage, Victor wrapped up his speech to thunderous applause. Celeste stepped forward next, voice light and charming as she spoke about generosity and vision. She told a story about believing in people, about opening doors. Daniel almost laughed. Across the room, a junior board member leaned toward a colleague and whispered, "Did you notice that guy earlier? The one security walked out." The colleague shrugged. "Yeah, awkward." He didn't look embarrassed. So people usually look embarrassed. Before the thought could land, applause rose again. A server passed with trays of drinks. Someone proposed a toast. Normalcy pressed in like a blanket. Daniel forced himself to breathe. He opened his phone again and typed a message to Victor. "Call me. Urgent." It sent. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Victor didn't look down. Instead, Victor raised his glass, smiling wide. "To the future," he said. The crowd echoed it back. Daniel felt sick. Across the room, Julian Reed's phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced down discreetly. Event catering account. Payment failed. Julian frowned. That had never happened before. He tried to ignore it, but then another alert buzzed. Security services. Service interruption pending confirmation. Julian's pulse spiked. He scanned the room for Victor, but Victor was laughing with donors now, shaking hands, posing for photos. Celeste floated between conversations, like a queen restoring order. Julian stepped aside and dialed operations. No answer. At the bar, a man in a tailored suit frowned at his phone. "That's odd," he muttered. "What?" his date asked. "My firm's compliance alert just pinged. Something about Harborline's escrow being frozen." She blinked. "Frozen? That can't be right." "I know." Nearby, another guest checked their phone. Then another. The energy shifted. Not loudly, not suddenly. Like a pressure change before a storm. Celeste felt it before she saw it. She caught a whisper as she passed. "Something's wrong." She stopped, turning her head just slightly. "What was that?" she asked pleasantly. The woman flushed. "Oh, nothing. Just rumors." Celeste smiled. There always are. But when she turned away, her fingers tightened around her clutch. She looked for Victor, found him across the room, speaking animatedly with two city officials. He looked relaxed, in control. She walked toward him, heels steady, expression serene. "Victor," she said lightly, touching his arm. A word. He leaned in, still smiling. "Later. I'm in the middle of." "Now," Celeste said softly. Something in her tone cut through him. Victor excused himself and followed her a few steps away. "What is it?" he asked, irritation flickering. Celeste lowered her voice. "People are checking their phones." So, she said. "Daniel Crow looks like he's about to faint." Victor frowned. "Daniel worries too much." Celeste shook her head slightly. "Not like this." Victor opened his mouth to respond, and then his phone vibrated. Once, he ignored it. It vibrated again,
Yes,
and again.
looks promising.
Victor glanced down. The smile slid off his face.
The
He
numbers
read
don't
the
add up.
message once, then again. "Victor," Celeste asked quietly. He didn't answer. He looked up, scanning the room. At the screens, the guests, the staff. Daniel Crow now moving quickly toward him. "What is it?" Celeste pressed. Victor swallowed. "The bank just paused disbursement," he said. Celeste's breath caught. "Paused. Temporarily," Victor added quickly. "Probably a clerical thing." Daniel reached them, face pale. "Victor," he said under his breath, "we have a problem." Celeste's voice sharpened. "What kind of problem?" Daniel hesitated, then spoke quietly. "The funding authority has initiated a compliance review," he said. "All Harborline linked accounts are on hold." Victor stared at him. "That's not possible." Daniel didn't blink. It already happened. For the first time that night, Victor Hawthorne felt something slip. Not panic. Something colder. What triggered it? Victor demanded. Daniel hesitated, then said, a directive from the top. Celeste's eyes narrowed. "From who?" Daniel's throat tightened. "I don't know yet," he admitted. "But whoever it is, they're moving fast." Across the ballroom, the screens flickered again. Just for a second, then stabilized. No announcement, no alarm. Just a room full of powerful people slowly realizing the floor beneath them might not be solid after all. And somewhere outside, walking alone beneath streetlights, Elias Monroe loosened his tie and exhaled. The first move had landed. Morning arrived without mercy. Victor Hawthorne woke to his phone vibrating nonstop on the nightstand, the screen lighting the dark room again and again. For a moment, he lay still, staring at the ceiling, trying to convince himself that whatever had happened last night was a temporary glitch, a bureaucratic hiccup, something his lawyers would smooth over by noon. Then he checked the notifications, emails, missed calls, alerts stacked like warnings. Celeste stirred beside him. "What time is it?" she murmured. Victor didn't answer. He sat up slowly, scrolling. Harborline funds, status frozen. Compliance review initiated. Urgent, board meeting requested. Celeste lifted herself onto one elbow, reading his face before his phone. "Victor," she said quietly. "What's going on?" Victor exhaled sharply. The bank overreacted. That's all. But his voice lacked conviction. Celeste reached for her own phone. She didn't need to unlock it to know. Her notifications were already screaming. Headlines from financial blogs. Internal messages from foundation donors. A text from a friend that simply read, "What did you do last night?" Celeste sat upright now. "This isn't a pause," she said. "This is coordinated." Victor swung his legs off the bed. "Daniel will handle it." As if summoned, Victor's phone rang. Daniel Crow. Victor answered immediately. "Talk to me." Daniel didn't bother with pleasantries. "We have a serious problem." "I know," Victor snapped. "Fix it." Daniel's voice was tight. "I can't. Not yet." Celeste leaned closer, listening. Daniel continued. "Overnight, 3 institutional partners pulled preliminary commitments. They cited reputational uncertainty." Celeste's eyes widened. "Reputational." Victor clenched his jaw. "That's nonsense." Daniel hesitated. "There's something else." Victor closed his eyes. "Daniel, a clip from last night is circulating," Daniel said. "Not just social media. Internal investor channels. Private forums." Celeste felt cold spread through her chest. "What clip?" Daniel didn't answer. Victor's phone buzzed again, this time with a video link. Victor tapped it. The footage was grainy but unmistakable. The ballroom, the lights, Victor himself, smiling sharply as security escorted a man away. The clip cut closer, focused on Elias Monroe's face as he was led toward the exit. Calm, controlled, unhumiliated. The caption beneath the video read, "They erased the wrong man." Celeste's breath hitched. "Who is that?" Victor didn't respond. He replayed the clip, slower this time. Something about the man's stillness unsettled him now. The way he hadn't argued, hadn't pleaded. Daniel's voice came through again. "Victor, that man wasn't staff." Victor's eyes snapped up. Then who was he? Daniel paused, then said the words Victor hadn't prepared for. "He represents the Monroe Trust." The room went silent. Celeste stared at Daniel's name on the screen, as if it might explain itself. "Monroe Trust?" she asked faintly. Victor's mind raced. "That's not possible. The Monroe Trust doesn't attend events. They work through proxies." "Yes," Daniel said quietly, "and Elias Monroe is one of them." Celeste swung her legs out of bed. "You're saying—" "I'm saying," Daniel interrupted, "that the man security escorted out last night has authority over the funding structure backing Harborline." Victor stood abruptly. "Authority how?" Daniel swallowed. "Primary oversight." Celeste pressed her hands to her face. Victor paced the room. "Why wasn't this disclosed?" Daniel's voice dropped. "Because he doesn't require disclosure." The truth settled like a weight. Victor stopped pacing. He was there to observe, Victor said slowly. Yes, Daniel confirmed. And we removed him. Yes. And now the accounts are frozen. Yes. Celeste lowered her hands, eyes sharp again. This can still be fixed. Victor turned to her. How? Celeste straightened. We apologize. Daniel inhaled sharply. That may not be enough. Victor glared. It will be. Daniel hesitated, then added, There's more. Victor's stomach tightened. What? Daniel glanced at a screen. The Monroe Trust issued notice at 6:12 a.m. Celeste leaned forward. What notice? Daniel read carefully. Due to concerns regarding governance, institutional behavior, and ethical misalignment, the Monroe Trust is suspending all active participation in the Harbor Line Initiative pending review. Victor felt the blood drain from his face. That's corporate language, Celeste said slowly. For abandonment. Yes, Daniel said. And once that notice goes public. Victor slammed his hand on the dresser. When? Daniel didn't hesitate. It already has. As if on cue, Celeste's phone buzzed again. She looked down. A major outlet notification flashed across her screen. Breaking. Monroe Trust suspends support for Harbor Line project. Her fingers trembled. Victor grabbed his own phone, scrolling frantically. Every screen told the same story. Market speculation, political backlash, anonymous sources whispering about ethical concerns and internal misconduct. And threaded through all of it, the video, the mandate erased. Celeste looked up slowly. Victor, she said, voice tight. This wasn't an accident. Victor's jaw clenched. He planned this. Celeste continued. He let us remove him. Daniel spoke quietly. That's my assessment. Victor stared at the floor. For the first time, he understood what that calm had been. Not submission. Preparation. Outside, the city moved on, indifferent to panic. Across town, in a quiet apartment with no view worth bragging about, Elias Monroe sat at a small kitchen table, coffee cooling beside him. His phone buzzed. Daniel Crow, public now. Full suspension confirmed. Elias read it once, then set the phone down. He looked out the window, expression unreadable. The night before, they had erased him. By morning, he had erased certainty. And this was only the beginning. By noon, Harbor Line's headquarters felt like a sinking ship pretending it wasn't taking on water. Executives crowded the glass-walled conference room, voices overlapping, laptops open, phones buzzing non-stop. Every screen showed the same things, falling projections, paused transactions, headlines multiplying faster than they could read them. Victor Hawthorne stood at the head of the table, hands braced against the polished surface, jaw locked. Stop reacting, he snapped. We're not collapsing. We're stabilizing. No one spoke, not because they agreed, but because no one believed him. Celeste sat beside him, posture flawless, expression carefully composed. If panic existed inside her, she didn't allow it to surface. Panic was a luxury for people without reputations to protect. A senior analyst finally cleared his throat. Sir, we've lost 3 more partners since 10 a.m. Victor didn't turn. Temporary. Another voice followed. The compliance review just escalated. External auditors are requesting full access. Celeste's fingers tightened slightly on her tablet. That's not protocol, she said calmly. It is when a primary backer pulls out. The analyst replied. Victor straightened. Elias Monroe didn't pull out. He suspended. The room exchanged glances. Celeste turned to Victor. Suspension is worse, she said quietly. It signals doubt. Victor's phone vibrated. Unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. This is Hawthorne. A calm voice replied. Mr. Hawthorne, this is Lydia Marks, counsel for the Monroe Trust. The room went silent. Victor swallowed. I was planning to reach out. I'm sure, Lydia said evenly. I'm calling to clarify our position. Celeste leaned closer, listening. The trust will not be resuming involvement, Lydia continued. Nor will Mr. Monroe be attending any reconciliation meetings. Victor's pulse thudded. We haven't had a conversation. That is intentional, Lydia said. Celeste spoke up, her tone smooth. Perhaps there's been a misunderstanding. Last night. There was no misunderstanding, Lydia cut in. There was an observation. Victor clenched his jaw. We can apologize. There was a brief pause on the line. Mr. Hawthorne, Lydia said softly. Apologies are for accidents. The call ended. The line went dead. For a long moment, no one breathed. Celeste slowly set her tablet down. He's not engaging, she said. That's deliberate. Victor stared at the blank screen of his phone. He wants leverage. No, Celeste corrected. He already has it. A younger executive spoke hesitantly. Should we find him? Victor's eyes lifted sharply. Find him how? He has a residence listed downtown. We could. No, Celeste said firmly. Not yet. Victor turned to her. Then what? Celeste leaned back in her chair. We control the narrative. The room listened now. We framed this as a compliance disagreement, she continued. A values-based pause. No names. No faces. No humiliation. Victor nodded slowly. And the video. Celeste's lips pressed thin. We discredited it. How? Someone asked. Celeste's gaze hardened. By making the man in it irrelevant. Across the city, Elias Monroe sat in a quiet cafe, sunlight spilling across the wooden floor. He wasn't hiding. He was waiting. His phone buzzed again. Daniel, they're circling. Celeste's pushing narrative control. Elias took a sip of coffee. Expected, he murmured. A woman approached his table. Mid-40s. Sharp eyes. Expensive restraint. Mr. Monroe, she said. May I? Elias looked up calmly. You already are. She's Saturday, I'm Celeste Hawthorne. Elias studied her. Not her clothes, not her posture, but the tension beneath the polish. You removed me last night, he said. Celeste didn't flinch. I corrected a disruption. Elias nodded once. And now, Celeste met his gaze. Now I'm offering resolution. Elias said nothing. Celeste leaned in slightly. You didn't belong in that room, but we're willing to overlook the misunderstanding. Elias smiled faintly, not amused. You're offering silence, he said. I'm offering peace, Celeste replied. Elias tilted his head. At what cost? Celeste held his gaze. Your involvement. Publicly. Elias leaned back. You want me invisible. Celeste's voice softened. You already prefer it. Elias considered her for a moment. Then he said, You mistook my quiet for consent. Celeste's smile tightened. Careful. No. Elias replied calmly. You should be. Celeste stood. Think about it. The market will forgive you if you let it. Elias looked up at her. The market doesn't forgive, he said. It replaces. Celeste's eyes flickered. She turned and walked away. Elias watched her leave. Then he took out his phone and typed a single message. Elias, release phase 2. Across town, Victor's phone rang again. This time, it was the board chair. Victor answered, already bracing. What happened now? Victor asked. The voice on the other end was grave. The trust just filed a formal ethics review, the chair said, and they named you. Victor's breath caught. They also released footage. The chair continued. Unedited. Victor felt the room tilt. The board chair finished quietly. The man you removed last night just walked into the light. By afternoon, the city knew his name. Not because Elias Monroe announced himself. Not because he gave an interview. But because silence finally broke. Screens across Harborline's headquarters lit up at once. News alerts stacking. Social feeds refreshing faster than anyone could scroll. Unedited footage released. Mystery investor identified. Harborline gala humiliation sparks investor revolt. Victor stood frozen as the first clip played on the main conference screen. The wine, the laughter, Celeste's composed smile. The moment Elias wiped his jaw and walked away. This time, there was no music underneath. No captions framing it as comedy. Just raw sound, gasps, whispers, phones clicking. And then the second clip dropped. Elias standing outside the ballroom, dialing his phone. Pull the offer. Lock every channel. Announce it now. The room erupted. That was him. He owned the trust. You let him walk out. Victor slammed his hand on the table. Enough. But no one was listening anymore. Phones buzzed again. Monroe Trust statement released. The words appeared on screen. Clean and devastating. We do not invest in companies that confuse power with worth. We do not fund leadership that mistakes silence for insignificance. Effective immediately, all affiliations with Harborline Technologies are terminated. Celeste felt something cold slide down her spine. This wasn't retaliation. It was judgment. Across the city, cameras waited outside Elias Monroe's building. They hadn't known where to aim that morning. Now they did. Elias stepped into the light without pause. No security detail. No statement prepared. Just a navy jacket. Calm eyes. A reporter called out, "Mr. Monroe." "Why now?" Elias stopped. He turned slowly. "Because pretending it didn't happen would make me complicit," he said. Microphone surged forward. "Were you trying to teach them a lesson? Was this revenge? Did you plan the humiliation?" Elias shook his head once. "I planned nothing." The crowd quieted. "I attended an event where people decided my value before knowing my name," he continued. "They treated me the way they treat anyone they believe cannot answer back." A pause. I simply answered. The clip went viral within minutes. Inside Harborline, the board convened an emergency session. Victor sat rigid, sweat darkening his collar. The board chair spoke first. "You allowed this environment." Victor snapped. "I didn't pour the wine." "No," the chair replied coldly. "But you created the room where it was possible." All eyes shifted to Celeste. She met their gaze without blinking. "We're being crucified for optics," she said evenly. "This will pass." "It won't," another member said. "Because he isn't attacking. He's exposing." Silence followed. Then the door opened. Legal counsel stepped in, face pale. "We have a problem." Victor closed his eyes. "Define problem." "The ethics review triggered an audit," counsel said. "Internal communications are being subpoenaed." Celeste stiffened. "That's not standard." "It is when intent is questioned." Victor looked up sharply. What intent? Counsel hesitated to determine whether discriminatory practices influenced investment decisions. The word landed like a gunshot. Discriminatory. Celeste stood. That's absurd. Is it? The chair asked quietly. Across town, Elias sat in a private office with Daniel and Lydia. Daniel scrolled through updates. They're imploding. Elias nodded. They always do when the crowd stops admiring. Lydia studied him. You could end this now. Public forgiveness. Reinstatement. Elias looked out the window. Why would I? He asked. Because it would make you look gracious, Lydia replied. Elias turned back. I don't need to look like anything. A beat. They mistook restraint for weakness, he said. I won't reward that. Daniel's phone buzzed. He read the message, then looked up. Celeste requested a meeting. Elias smiled faintly. Of course she did. Do you want to see her? Elias considered. Yes, he said, but not privately. That evening, Harborline's largest donor forum went live. An emergency broadcast meant to calm investors. Victor stood at the podium again. This time, there was no applause. We take accountability seriously, he began. Recent events. The feed split. A second window opened. Elias Monroe appeared on screen. The chat exploded. Victor froze. What is this? He hissed. The moderator's voice shook. Mr. Monroe requested equal access. Elias looked directly into the camera. Good evening, he said calmly. I won't take much time. Victor felt his throat tighten. I'm not here to attack Harborline. Elias continued. I'm here to clarify. He paused. My involvement was never about profit alone. It was about belief in leadership, in culture and responsibility. His gaze sharpened. What I witnessed showed me none of those. The comments surged. Celeste watched from the side, face unreadable. Elias finished quietly. When people reveal who they are under comfort, believe them. The feed cut. Dead silence followed. Then the investors started logging out. One by one, Victor's knees weakened. Later that night, Celeste stood alone in her office. The city lights reflected off the glass like fractures. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. Elias's voice came through, calm as ever. You wanted me invisible, he said. Celeste swallowed. What do you want? Elias paused. For you to understand something, he said. This wasn't about you losing. Then what was it about? She asked. Elias replied evenly. About you realizing you were never untouchable. The line went dead. Celeste stared at the phone long after the call ended. Outside, headlines kept spreading, and somewhere between exposure and collapse, Harborline crossed a line it could never uncross. But the story wasn't over yet, because power never disappears quietly. It waits, and strikes back. The backlash didn't come loud. It came organized. By morning, Elias Monroe's name had vanished from trending lists, not because interest died, but because something heavier replaced it. Lawsuits, quiet filings, sealed motions, internal disputes suddenly made public in carefully worded headlines. Daniel dropped a stack of documents on the conference table. They're coming from 3 directions. Elias skimmed the first page. Breach of implied agreement, he read aloud. Defamation through omission. Lydia laughed without humor. That's creative. They're not trying to win, Daniel said. They're trying to exhaust you. Elias leaned back. Good. I have patience. But patience didn't stop the next blow. Outside his building, security doubled overnight. Not because of fans, because of threats. The first one arrived by email, unsigned, clinical. You embarrassed the wrong people. This ends when you decide it does. Elias deleted it without comment. The second came handwritten, slipped under the door of his town car. No words, just a photo. Him, walking alone, taken from across the street. Daniel went pale when he saw it. That's not coincidence. No, Elias said calmly. That's pressure. Across the city, Celeste Hale sat with a crisis firm that charged more per hour than most people made in a year. We need to shift the narrative, the strategist said. Right now, he's a symbol. Celeste crossed her legs. Then make him human. The strategist nodded. Exactly. By noon, private investigators were pulling every thread of Elias Monroe's past. Old partnerships, failed ventures, anyone willing to speak off record. They didn't need truth. They needed noise. That evening, a story broke. Monroe Trust founder linked to controversial acquisitions. The article was vague, carefully sourced, dangerous in implication. Elias read it once, then again. They're baiting me, he said. Lydia looked at him sharply. And it's working. Your silence now looks defensive. Elias stood and walked to the window. Power always wants a reaction, he said. That's how it confirms relevance. Daniel hesitated. But if they keep escalating? They will, Elias replied, because this isn't about reputation anymore. He turned back. It's about control. The next morning, Victor Hale was escorted out of Harbor Line. No announcement, no farewell, just a quiet resignation effective immediately. Celeste watched it happen from her office window. She didn't smile. Victor had been expendable. She wasn't. Her phone rang. Board wants you to stabilize donor confidence, the voice said. Celeste answered evenly. Then they should stop bleeding. She hung up and stared at the city. Then she did something unexpected. She called Elias. He answered on the third ring. You're enjoying this, she said. No, Elias replied. I'm enduring it. Celeste exhaled. They won't stop. You know that. I do. So what do you want? She asked. Elias paused. For it to end honestly, he said. Not quietly. Celeste's voice dropped. Then you'll have to burn something. Elias smiled faintly. Already done. That night, another message arrived. This one wasn't subtle. Final warning. Withdraw your public stance, or we escalate. Daniel slammed his fist on the table. This is harassment. No, Elias corrected. This is fear pretending to be authority. Lydia watched him carefully. What's your line, Elias? He met her gaze. When someone else pays the price for my silence. As if summoned, Daniel's phone rang. His expression changed mid-call. What happened? Elias asked. Daniel swallowed. They contacted the nonprofit your mother donated to. A pause. They're auditing it. The room went still. Elias's jaw tightened, not in anger, but calculation. That's the line, he said quietly. The following morning, Elias did the one thing no one expected. He filed his own suit. Not against Harbor Line, against the culture that enabled it. A public civil action naming executives, board members, and third-party firms, supported by recordings, messages, and witness accounts from inside Harbor Line. The press exploded. Monroe sues for systemic abuse of power. Insiders turned whistleblowers. Celeste watched the headlines roll in. Her name was there, not accused, referenced, connected. The strategist looked at her. You're still clean. For now. Celeste nodded slowly. Then she stood. Schedule a press conference, she said. The strategist blinked. You want to speak? Yes, Celeste replied, before he finishes defining me. That afternoon, cameras filled the plaza. Celeste stepped up, composed, elegant, wounded just enough. I regret how that evening unfolded, she said, but I refuse to accept a narrative where a single moment defines an entire legacy. Across town, Elias watched the feed. She's positioning herself as collateral, Daniel said. No, Elias replied. She's positioning herself as inevitable. Lydia crossed her arms. What's your move? Elias didn't answer immediately. He picked up his phone, scrolled once, then said, I stopped protecting people who never protected anyone. He pressed send. Somewhere deep inside Harborline servers, a file unlocked, and with it, the truth no one was prepared for. The file didn't explode. It breathed. At exactly 8:07 p.m., an encrypted folder appeared in the inboxes of 3 federal oversight agencies, 2 investigative newsrooms, and 1 ethics commission that hadn't been activated in years. No announcement, no press blast, just data, emails, payment trails, internal memos stamped confidential. Daniel stared at the screen as confirmations rolled in. They opened it. Elias sat motionless, hands folded, eyes steady. Inside the file was Harborline's real architecture. Not the polished speeches, not the diversity panels, but the machinery underneath. Short lists of acceptable partners. Notes beside names. Risk markers disguised as culture fit. Entire sectors quietly excluded, never publicly, always strategically. And at the center of it all, Celeste Hale. Not as a villain, as a designer. The press didn't know how to react at first. Then the pattern emerged. Leaked documents show systemic exclusion at Harborline. CEO's wife linked to strategic filtering process. Celeste watched the news in silence. Her strategist spoke carefully. This is bigger than optics. Celeste didn't blink. I know. You can still deny knowledge. Celeste turned slowly and let Victor take the fall alone. A pause. No, she said. I won't be erased. Across the city, Elias's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. You've crossed into something you don't control anymore, Celeste said. Elias listened. You think this makes you righteous, she continued. You think exposure equals justice. No, Elias replied calmly. I think truth forces choice. Celeste laughed softly. Then choose wisely. Because if I fall, I won't fall quietly. The line went dead. Daniel exhaled. She's dangerous. Yes, Elias agreed. Because she believes survival is virtue. That night, whistleblowers came forward. Former analysts, silenced assistants, one board advisor who'd resigned years earlier without explanation. Stories layered over documents. The picture sharpened. Harborline's value plummeted again. Then something unexpected happened. Public sentiment fractured. Some hailed Elias as courageous. Others questioned his motives. Commentary turned sharp. Why now? Why did he wait? Is this justice or revenge dressed in principle? Lydia watched the discourse shift. They're trying to humanize her by questioning you. Elias nodded. That's fair. Is it? Daniel snapped. Elias answered quietly. Yes. Power should always be questioned, including mine. The next morning, Elias received a visit. No cameras, no aides, Just a woman in her late 60s, dressed simply, eyes sharp. She introduced herself. Mary Ann Cole, former Harbor Line legal. Elias gestured for her to sit. She didn't. I reviewed those files years ago, she said. I warned them. Elias studied her. What happened? They paid me to leave, she said evenly, and I took it. A pause. I've lived with that decision every day. She reached into her bag and placed a flash drive on the table. This is the rest. Daniel's breath caught. There's more. Marian nodded. Enough to bury them. Elias closed his eyes briefly. Not relief. Wait. Why now? He asked. Marian met his gaze. Because watching them humiliate you reminded me why I failed. Elias nodded once. Thank you. As she left, Lydia whispered, if you release that. I know, Elias said. It won't just destroy them, she continued. It'll destabilize markets, jobs, thousands of lives. Elias stood and walked to the window. The city looked unchanged. That was the illusion. Power always claims innocence through scale, he said, as if size excuses harm. Daniel hesitated. But what if she's right? What if burning it all down creates more victims? Elias turned back. What if silence already has? He asked. That afternoon, Celeste stood before a grand jury. No cameras inside, just questions. She answered with precision, deflection, legal distance, enough truth to survive. Outside, reporters waited. Inside, Celeste's phone buzzed. One message, from Elias. You still have a choice. Celeste stared at it. For the first time in years, uncertainty crept into her posture. Because the file Marian brought, it named names beyond Harbor Line. It traced influence wider, and if Elias released it, Celeste wouldn't be the only one exposed. She would be the first. That night, Elias sat alone. The flash drive lay on the table, a single click away. Daniel stood behind him. Once this goes out, there's no undo. Elias nodded. Lydia asked softly, can you live with what happens next? Elias looked at the city again. Then he said something none of them expected. I already am. His finger hovered over the keyboard. The cursor blinked. Once, twice. Elias Monroe sat alone in the dim office. The city breathing beyond the glass like it always had. Indifferent, relentless, alive. The flash drive rested beside his keyboard. Inside it, names that never appeared on headlines. Donors who shaped policy quietly. Boards that filtered power while preaching inclusion. A system that rewarded cruelty wrapped in civility. Daniel stood near the door. Lydia leaned against the wall, arms crossed, eyes heavy. No one spoke, because this was no longer strategy. It was consequence. Elias broke the silence. If I release this, people will lose jobs, pensions, futures. Daniel nodded. Yes, and if I don't, Elias continued, the system survives intact, just embarrassed. Lydia exhaled slowly. Justice doesn't always feel clean. Elias leaned back, staring at the ceiling. I didn't walk into that ballroom wanting revenge, he said quietly. I walked in believing dignity didn't need to announce itself. A pause, but they taught me something. Daniel looked at him. What? That silence protects power more than violence ever could. The phone buzzed. Celeste Hale. Elias answered. Her voice was calm, but thinner now. You have the rest of the file. Yes. You know what releasing it will do. Yes. She hesitated. Then softer. This world runs because people like us make ugly decisions quietly. Elias replied evenly, and it rots because no one ever says no. Celeste's breath hitched. What do you want? Elias didn't answer immediately. Then, for you to say it out loud. A long pause. I designed the filters, Celeste said finally. I told myself it was efficiency, risk management. I never said the words, but I knew what they meant. Elias closed his eyes. And if I step down, she asked, if I take responsibility, then the truth still exists, Elias replied. But the blast radius changes. Another silence. Celeste whispered, you'd let me fall, but not burn the world. I won't protect you, Elias said, but I won't weaponize everyone else either. Celeste laughed softly. You're not merciful. No, Elias said. I'm finished pretending harm needs to be spectacular to matter. The call ended. Minutes later, the news broke. Celeste Hale resigns, admits role in discriminatory practices. Federal review launched into Harborline systems. Markets reacted. Not collapse, but correction. Harborline's board dissolved within hours. Victor Hale resigned before dawn. The company survived. Changed. Watched. Weakened but accountable. And the rest of the file? Elias encrypted it. Locked it away. A reminder. Not a threat. Weeks passed. The world moved on like it always did. New scandals, new villains, new outrage cycles. Elias walked again. This time through a different building. A smaller one. A scholarship foundation. Young faces. Nervous. Hopeful. No cameras. No applause. A woman approached him after a panel. Why didn't you destroy them? She asked. Elias considered the question. Because destruction feels like justice when you're hurting, he said. But it rarely heals what caused the wound. She nodded slowly. Do you regret it? Elias smiled faintly. Some days. That night, Elias returned home. He poured a glass of water. No wine. He stood by the window again. Same city. Different weight. Daniel's voice echoed in his mind. You could have ended everything. Yes, but ending wasn't the point. Change was. His phone buzzed one last time. An unknown number. A message. You taught me something I didn't want to learn. That dignity doesn't ask permission. Elias stared at the words, then typed back. Neither does consequence. He set the phone down, turned off the light, and for the first time since the ballroom, he slept. Power doesn't fear anger. It fears clarity. Because once people see the system clearly, it can never hide again. If this story moved you, if it made you think, or if it reminded you that quiet power always wins, then you're in the right place. Subscribe to Velvet Desire Stories for more cinematic stories of love, betrayal, justice, and revenge told without faces, but felt deeply. Like the video, share it with someone who needs this story, and turn on notifications, because the next story will find the ones who underestimate it. If this story moved you, if it made you think, or if it reminded you that quiet power always wins, then you're in the right place. Subscribe to Velvet Desire Stories for more cinematic stories of love, betrayal, justice, and revenge told without faces, but felt deeply. Like the video, share it with someone who needs this story, and turn on notifications, because the next story will find the ones who underestimate it.